to HitPoint, an anime news show, a JRPG news show, a niche news show, a show where Baku and I stream every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be previewing a couple of trailers. We'll be talking about some rumors. We'll be talking about some indies. I am in some kind of tornado watch, so we might lose connection at some point. If that happens, I might be dead. But hey, I hope you're all having a great Sunday. I am not letting the stupid little storm outside, rain on my parade, so to speak. Baku, how have you been, buddy? It has been
I've been
a
great.
week. It is. Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
I can still hear
Okay.
you. Just want to make sure. Okay, so just so y'all know, like we were having a little bit of issue because of the storm. We made
What?
some fixes. I think
No.
we're gonna be okay.
No.
So I'm
The
like,
most
I'm not sure if
professional
you can hear me,
stream.
but you can hear me. Okay.
Yep, we're the most professional stream on all of Twitch and on YouTube. Maybe we should we dual stream this to Twitch and YouTube? Maybe whatever. At some point maybe we will. But for now, hey, it's good to see you all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you might have seen, we have indies on the brain today. So we're going to be talking about some pretty cool stuff as it relates
Yes.
to those indies. But all right, let's see. But before we do that,
Mm-hmm.
we have some comments from last week to talk about.
Yes.
All right, so I went ahead and pulled out a few from last week's comments section that I felt like talking about. And in this one from Alex Clayton caught my eye. They said, I refuse to buy it if you can't own it. Full stop. There are ways to make it so that you can own digital copies. See Good Old Games for an example of that. And I wholeheartedly agree. Like, that is one thing that just bugs the heck out of me. I know that there were some games on the PSP that I ended up buying, such as Corpse Party, that had digital-only releases.
Mhm.
However, even the PSP does have ways of allowing you to back up your downloaded games onto, well, SD cards technically, but I mean, onto the memory sticks, so you can actually own whatever's on that memory stick, right? So like there used to be a way that these things could be made available to you forever, and you could like maintain your own copies and database of
Mhm.
your downloaded games. But yeah, at this point, it's hard to justify buying digital only games when those sorts of mechanisms seem to be rarer and rarer and less often available to us, you know?
Yeah, that is the unfortunate part of it all.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that's just something that stood out to me from last week. And then did you want to take this next one here from us?
Sure. From C. Thomas. Great work as always, fellas. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you as always.
Yep, that was another one of those super thanks chats. So thank you so
Super
much.
thanks
Yes.
for SuperDerek.
So very much appreciate those. And then we got another one here from Mr. Valgard who says, how can Microsoft expect high sales not only from indie games not well known in the West and a game that's actually on Gamepass? It's like triple the effort. Shouldn't there be some sort of security umbrella for Game Pass day one games? Where's the logic in that? And that's a response to our question last week, or our discussion last week, which was all about Microsoft and all about Tango Gameworks and just the man. Did you see the update that they're actually getting review? I saw the term the other day, review bloomed.
Is that a thing?
It is apparently now a
The
thing.
reverse of review bombing, is that it?
Yes, exactly. In like solidarity with Tango Gameworks, people have been going through and just like reviewing the game in a positive way, to express all their gratitude, and that just made me so happy to see that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so getting back to the comment Mr. Valgard left, I did also respond directly to that chat, but I felt like I wanted to say it here just one more time, just to help clarify what we were kind of saying, is that
Mhm.
Microsoft, not Xbox, but Microsoft's moves recently showed that they either don't know or don't care about like the gaming industry or its intricacies or even Xbox's own strategy. Microsoft doesn't speak Xbox's strategy. Their protocols for making these financial decisions are based off of metrics that aren't considering the ways that Game Pass is designed to help Xbox essentially. Whether it be Game Pass conversions, awards, prestige, Microsoft does not care about what Xbox has been trying to do. So their bean counters essentially are operating like a machine that operates on simple inputs. What does it cost us to keep? And what money did it bring directly in? And if it doesn't like equal more money out or more money in than out, cut it.
Yeah.
And that's just how the beast of a megacorp works. It's at this point it's a beast that's operating on its own, even though it owns Xbox. It does not care about Xbox. It's wild to me, and that's the only thing that I can glean from this whole experience is that this is what happens when big companies. God, it reminds me of what was it that something like something about the giants walking and just trying not to step on ants. Like if you're lucky they will just try not to step on you. But
Mhm.
do you always look at the ground to make sure you're not about to step on an ant? Like that is Xbox in the eye of Microsoft. from
Yeah.
from from where I'm sitting, that's what it feels like. So
Yeah. It's too insignificant for them to pay that much attention to it. They need a microscope to see, Tangle works.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so and that's the reality. Welcome to capitalism. That's just the reality.
Yay. uh,
and
and so
so I'm
so
hoping that this is
mhm.
a cautious tale for any
Yes.
indie developer looking to sell for security. Don't
Yeah.
know if you're gonna get that.
Yep. Who was it that said whoever God, there's somebody who's willing to exchange security for freedom ends up with neither.
I'm sorry.
A
What was
person
the?
who exchanges freedom for security ends up with neither.
That sounds like a very wise saying, but I have no idea who said that one. They
It
said
was
Edison.
Edison, maybe Jefferson. I don't. It was an old dude, a really
It
old
was an
dude. I don't
old
know.
dude.
So it must be true.
It was Confucius.
Mm,
Mm.
I did hear that once.
If you can't attribute a quote to somebody, it's either Confucius or Einstein. It's one or the other, right?
Yep.
It's just according to the internet, anyways. Yes. Um, so yeah, yeah, I'm really hoping that companies think twice because, as you will see, a lot of these like small indie companies is kind of our future. Like we're not really depending on giant companies to deliver, and so it would be a sad end for them if they go the way of Tango Games, right? So we're hoping that that doesn't happen. We
Yeah.
want more like vanillaware situation and less Tango Games situation. Is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, but honestly, whoever it was that accepted the money for that deal made out like a bandit.
I mean, see, that's the thing. I don't even know if they did, like how much did they actually make out of that. So, I mean, they made
Well,
something, I'm sure, but
probably.
is it
So
that
the
much
the
money?
question I have is like, so Microsoft bought ZeniMax, right?
Mhm.
Who received the money? Who did they buy that from? That's the person who made out like a bandit.
Oh, yeah, yeah, but
Like,
not the original indie studio, I
no, no,
guess
no,
is what
no.
I'm trying to get at. Like,
Certainly
they,
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, makes you wonder. Yeah, but I mean, we can't glean into these like details, but certainly, we can see the outcome, so
Yeah.
we can comment on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, and I think you got this last comment here.
Oh, that's a different person.
Yes, yes.
Okay. From Indexico, who said, I've always said subscription services by their nature devalue content. It's the same in music, film, and TV. And with gaming, it's particularly damaging. People talked about Hi-Fi Rush being free on Game Pass. It's not a free game. It came with a subscription, but because it had the free label on release, it would never be worth more than that for the majority of for players. It's true, Game Pass is the best value in gaming, but it's also responsible for games losing their value in the public consciousness. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for that comment. I
Yeah,
don't
and on that
know if
note, if you
I
haven't already,
100% agree with this, but yeah, go ahead,
I was gonna
Derek.
say, yeah, on that note, if you haven't already subscribed to SuperDerek RPGs here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe.
This is a subscription, so please
Yeah.
subscribe here, and also all of our other subscriptions. Just do all of it right now. Just hit the bell icon when you add it.
Oh, that
um
actually, speaking of comments
mhm,
and ringing the bell, I also got one other comment last week where somebody said that they actually have the bell notification turned on and everything, and YouTube still doesn't tell them when we're streaming. So I have one last line of defense for anybody out there who isn't getting notified of the things that you want to be notified, at least
mhm.
as it relates to my channel. I don't talk about it very often, but I do have a Discord server. And gosh, I'll put a link to it somewhere, but I think it's, yeah, discord.me/SuperDerek.
Your Discord is in the description, or
Oh,
will
is
be
it?
in the
Oh, yeah,
description.
it'll be there
Yeah.
too. But anyways, I also have it set up so that you can sign up for the notifications that you want there,
Mhm.
and you can, I will ping people that way, and it circumnavigates the whole algorithm of YouTube. So yeah, yeah, check that out if you're wanting an even better way to hang out with some really cool people. Not talking about
Yeah.
myself. I'm talking about the other cool people who are in the Discord. They're way cooler than me. But yeah, check that out, guys, if you get a chance.
Derek,
But
are you seeing someone else in this Discord that I don't see? Because I only see you in there. So if you're not talking about yourself, who are you talking about?
oh, I'm talking about all
Who
of the
is the
community
cool people?
members. All the
Who
cool
are,
community members. Oh, well,
hmm.
I mean, you and I are in one room together, but I have a whole other Discord that's not there, buddy.
That's true. I was thinking about us being here in Discord chat.
Oh, I got what you're saying.
Context matters, doesn't it?
A little
Um,
bit.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, but back to the comment real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I 100% agree. So, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about other kind of subscription, right? Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like what's the word? What's the thing that I'm thinking about?
Well, the thing that comes to my mind,
Tch,
the counterpoint that comes to my mind is
mhm.
something like Patreon. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but but
But you are.
things like that. I mean,
Kidding.
because I do have a Patreon
Mhm,
for the game collection, and
mhm,
it allows me to focus on making episodes of the game collection full reviews,
mhm.
and it kind of funds that. But that's a little bit different from a subscription service where you have
Yeah.
access
Yeah.
instantly to a wealth of content, where you
Yeah.
have indecision
I,
overload, like a Netflix or a Spotify or something, right?
so I think what they're talking about are subscription platforms, which is different than subscription service. I mean, they're not the same. Platform is a different kind of economy.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So I think they're talking about platforms specifically. Like iTunes is a platform. Netflix is a platform.
Hmm.
Prime's a platform. Sony, whatever games is a technically a platform. And what is that? Squid Game. Thank you, Squid Game.
Oh
I,
yes,
I
on
I don't know who I'm
Netflix.
thinking. I'm thinking myself. I remember. It's Squid Game. Yeah, so Squid Game is the example that I'm thinking about. Like, no one looks at Squid Game and say, well, I can watch this for free on this subscription. Therefore, it is not worth worthwhile or worth anything. It's like, well, no, Squid Game is highly successful, and it only became successful because it was able to reach so many people outside of their domestic, like South Korean market. So
Hmm.
I don't know if I necessarily think that somehow it is devalued. It's just how they are, how they're advertised.
Yeah.
Because Netflix doesn't go, hey, watch this free on your subscription. It's like, no, you watch it on our subscription. The word free is not mentioned in there. So it's more about how they are advertising this. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't disagree that calling it free on Game Pass is damaging. I wholeheartedly agree, but I don't think that can be applied to just subscription platforms in general.
Hmm.
Uh,
I think though, that one of the main differences between so Squid Game, the difference
mhm,
between Squid Game and say, um, Hi-Fi Rush is
mhm,
that Squid Game was created by the mega corporation that is Netflix, and
mhm.
they are built around a subscription service model, and their parent company is not foreign to that concept. Like that is
Is Squid Game made is funded by Netflix? I thought they just bought the rights to air it.
Oh, was it? I thought it was a
Yeah.
Netflix
Uh,
original, but
Netflix original just doesn't mean that it doesn't mean what you think it means.
you're probably
Netflix
right.
original doesn't necessarily mean that they funded. I mean, they could have.
That's
I'm
true.
not saying they didn't, but they could have. But there's a bunch of Netflix originals that aren't funded by Netflix. They just bought the rights to
Yeah. But
show it.
the point though, like Squid Game or not, is that
Mhm,
like a successful piece of media should ensure the continuation of that media, and it's likely to under a Netflix model that is from the ground to the top, based around a subscription model service that's about conversions and about accolades and getting people's interest and
mhm,
hype and things, as opposed to Microsoft, who owns Xbox, that has
mhm,
traditionally been a widget company, right?
mhm.
Um, and or a gadget and widget company. I don't know, but
Yeah.
but essentially they started including this as a subscription service, which is like
Mhm.
incompatible with the way that Microsoft thinks about things, right?
Yeah.
That's my take,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's I just think that it's worth looking into a little bit more. I think like there's definitely some validity to this. I just don't think that it's a broad stroke statement. uh
It is
would make sense because I can
a
come up
very
plenty of
broad brush.
examples where like not only was it not devalue, the value was enhanced because you're able to reach more people. I think this is a very specific thing, or at least this example is very specific to Xbox, and games in general.
Yeah.
Now, if it was exclusive, that would be one thing. But because you can buy the thing somewhere else, all of a sudden free versus like a dollar value, then there's that contrast, right?
Hmm.
Um, like think about anime subscription, right? Like think about Crunchyroll. Like Crunchyroll doesn't say, well, you can watch this for free by paying your membership. Like
That
no
is
one's
true.
calling it free. Like
Hmm.
you can watch it on Crunchyroll, or you can watch it on High Dive. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. Um,
I mean,
it's
prior to
that
Crunchyroll,
word free that's really making it stick.
yeah, prior
Um,
to Crunchyroll, like the only times that I ever handed money over to the anime industry
mhm.
was by buying DVDs, essentially.
Yeah.
Or maybe watching something on Cartoon Network that was ad supported. But like once, I mean, and this is what was really powerful for Crunchyroll, right? Is that
Mhm,
it became a convenience thing because otherwise a lot of I used to actually rent a lot of anime because we had this
mhm,
really awesome rental shop that had
mhm,
tons, like a wall of anime DVDs. And so I would just watch a bunch of that, but those DVDs were already purchased a long time ago by that company, right? So I wasn't actually supporting the anime industry until I started supporting it through things like Crunchyroll. Um, so that is I think one of the more powerful aspects of that is that I was maybe buying one DVD per year of anime, maybe. But at this point, like when I'm watching or paying for Crunchyroll, I'm handing over, $10 a month, the equivalent of like 1 to 2 DVDs every couple months instead, with the trade-off of I get to watch all of the anime that I like. So it 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 is valuable because I am now providing money into the system, whereas before I was kind of more, barely a participant. So,
Mm,
and I think
yeah.
that a subscription service has the ability to have a similar impact, but the margins are way different on games than anime.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, in order to make it worth your while, suppose suppose one disc or one Blu-ray of anime is $30.
Hmm.
Okay, that's kind of, I think, reasonable, or about okay. That's not
I've
unimaginable right
never
now.
actually bought anime DVD. I gotta
Oh my
tell
god.
you.
Well, anyways, so and then let's just say, for the sake of easy math, that Crunchyroll is
Mhm,
$10 a month. So as
mhm,
long as I, you know, as long as I pay, if I pay for, Crunchyroll for a year, I've effectively bought 4 DVDs or Blu-rays worth of anime.
mhm,
Um, so that means I am increasing the amount that I'm spending every year on anime by a factor of 4.
mhm.
Now let's apply this to video games, and the math gets a lot harder, because at this point we're talking about Game Pass. How much is that? Do you know how much Game Pass is every month? Is
Nope,
that like
I
50?
don't Xbox.
Oh, me neither. How much? Here, let me Google it. How much is Xbox Game Pass? It's $10 a month.
Mhm,
So if I am the kind of person who buys one video game a year, I'll spend $60-$70 a year. Xbox Game Pass, if I subscribe to that for a year, I have only put in $120 per year. So I've
mhm,
effectively, increased the amount of money that I'm spending on games by 50%.
mhm,
Well, I guess $60. So maybe double, so going from that, if you're only the buy one game a year kind of person, to using Xbox Game Pass, then you are starting to put more money into the system. I feel, and I might be out of the normal here. I feel like a lot of people spend more money on more games than that.
mhm.
And so if somebody, you know, goes from buying 6 games a year to none because they're all on Xbox Game Pass, then then what what happens to the math there?
Yeah.
You've just decimated your revenue by down to a third of what it was. So yeah, Xbox Game Pass is hmm, it feels like Netflix in a way, but at the same time it really isn't. It's kind of it's too good of a value, which is weird to say. It's weird to say that, but it's too
Mhm.
good of a value to be, I think, long-term sustainable, but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they're making all kinds of margin on this. I don't know.
Yeah, I need to look into the numbers a little bit because I've not really looked into
I
I've
know.
looked into Netflix.
We
I've
really
I've
went off
done
into the
case
weeds.
studies on those. I've
Yeah.
done case studies on platforms, but not a game platform. And
Yeah.
part of that is because when was the last time you saw a game streaming platform actually succeed?
Say that
It,
one more
well,
time.
when was the last time you saw a game streaming platform succeeding? Actually being a success, I guess.
Oh, God, I know Gamefly was around forever. I never actually used it though. What the heck was that even? Um,
No, a game streaming platform.
Was
Like
that
you
was that
stream,
not?
yeah.
I thought that was game streaming. I don't know.
I don't
Um,
know, but I just want, well, for chat too. I want to be clear. I'm talking about game streaming, not game rental.
well,
Game streaming. Yeah.
there was Stadia. Wait, no, not Stadia.
Well, it went the way of the dodo, so there's that. You know, but that's my point. Is when
There
was the last
is
time you actually saw a successful model that weren't bleeding money to the point where the parent company is like, yeah, scrap that. That's not happening. You say GameFly is mailing game rentals, so okay,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so game rental is different. Game rental is perfectly fine.
For sure.
Streaming service. I don't think streaming
The
service is
the only thing I can think
maybe
of
to your point, it's probably not viable. Like,
the yeah,
no.
the only thing I can think of that is still around, I don't is the various subscription services where you can basically remote into a machine that is more powerful than your computer and stream the games locally. But even then, you still have to bring your own games to the table. You can't just remote into a machine, load it up with all the games that you want.
So you're renting rendering capabilities. Is that
Yeah,
it?
you're renting a 480 Ti. Yes.
Oh Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I
frames
don't
per second is
recall.
more important than latency.
Yeah, I don't recall a game streaming service being a success. Like Game Pass is
Yeah.
one thing, but it's also subsidized. So it's not like its own thing. It was its own thing. Like Stadia is more of its own thing. It probably would have failed already. So I think you've got a lot of. I mean, you're onto something, is what I'm trying to say. So, I don't know.
Thank
That's
you.
interesting. I'll probably look at the numbers later when I have some time. Just like how I said I was going to look at Square Enix's number, which I haven't done so yet. But I will when I can just sit down and actually look at numbers, because it takes a certain mood to look at financial numbers. You know, it's kind of a pain.
That's what I like to call
And that
a
mood is
perfect
when I'm
Friday
not
night.
lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're onto something. All right.
All
Shall
right.
we
Let's move on
on?
to new games.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, wait.
Upcoming releases.
Yes. This
Yes.
week's releases. There we go. There's the button.
Yes. There you go.
All
Upcoming
right.
releases. All right. This is just going to be like a quick flyby here, but Witches and Lilies is a 3D dungeon crawler from developer Stromato Soft. And will be available for early access on May 24th. So that's like that's like 5 days from now. This upcoming Friday.
Yep. That's
So
the
if people
that's-
who are into like dungeon crawlers might want to check out Witches and Lilies.
And-
Not going to go too far into it because
gonna say,
this is not the important part. Just want to remind you that this is the thing.
all right, fine.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's the Yuri DRPG, right?
Yes, it is.
All
We
right.
talked about it before.
Yeah. And I
But
talked
with
about it
just a
again last
reminder. Yeah.
on JRPG Weekly Update too. That's why I remember. I'm like, I'm on top of it this week. I know this
Witches
one.
and Lilies, yes.
All right. And then also we got one coming out on the 23rd, and it's a day before Witch and Lilies. So you might
Yes.
want to play this one first and then finish it and then go on to Witch and Lilies. And it's Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
Oh, I'm excited for this.
Oh, dude, I am stoked. Let's check out the trailer for it together. We're not gonna watch a ton of trailers today, but there's 3. So we're gonna check this one out because I'm actually a little bit out of the loop of what this looks like.
Yes.
It's Mario, and he's paper.
Huh?
Our hero and his allies open the storybook on an epic paper adventure in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door.
So cute. I love it.
One
looks
terrible
so good.
day, Mario
So,
receives a letter from
It's
Princess
literally
Peach.
paper cutout. But
Yeah.
it's literally paper cutout.
I love that you can actually see that there's like thick cardstock to it, so you can like see that there's like a little paper edge to it.
Yeah.
That never used to be there. It's kind of funny how they evolved the Paper Mario a little bit by
And the
giving
only
it
way they
just
knew how.
a tiny bit of depth.
The locals.
Okay, speaking of Mario and stuff, I did watch someone play the new Peaches game. It actually looks really good.
I know.
Yeah, the
It
new Peaches
does.
game was actually really good. So if anyone was like, I don't know, is Peach and whatever, no, it's a really like bona fide Nintendo quality stamp. Like it's a good time.
Oh, that's so cool. uh,
You'll also get to play as
and I always felt like the Paper Peach just looks so cute. Like she just looks like adorable in that
That
you know.
style.
Yes,
Yeah.
unusual adventures of their own.
The beady eyes is probably has something
Yeah.
to do with it.
100%.
Partner up with
Goombella.
an upbeat
Ah.
biologist
I
and
want to
brain
play this so bad.
valuable
Dude, me too. It
I'm
looks
gonna
so
like,
good.
yeah,
Oh.
I'm more excited about this than the Nintendo RPG.
You know,
I mean, I am excited about Nintendo RPG, but this I was more interested in.
the Nintendo RPG?
I mean, sorry, the Mario RPG,
Oh,
the one
Mario
that came out
RPG.
earlier. Yeah.
I was gonna say this is one of the things that came up a lot during my recent video talking about 10 RPGs for beginners and 5 to avoid. I recommend people check out the new Paper Mario or Super Mario RPG, and a lot of people were like, Paper Mario would be a really good choice too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I agree, but I wanted to wait for this one to put it on there.
Yeah. I'm really waiting for this one. And I don't even Mario. I haven't touched a Mario game in like maybe a decade and a half.
In my, I don't know, for whatever reason, in my headcanon, like this is real Mario. This is where all the actual character development is. This is canon Mario.
Yeah.
Everything
They're
else
just
is
doing
just
a stage
filler.
play always.
Yep, everything else is just filler. Now, what is interesting though is that this is a stage play. You might notice.
Yeah.
Like you have people in the audience like watching. It's actually on stage during combat. So I think that like Mario 3's presentation, I think this Paper Mario is also kind of a fictional representation of like a Mario story. If that makes sense. I mean, they're all fictional.
Yeah.
but I think that that's like one of the things to this game is
Well, I mean, I think the long-running fan theory is just every single Mario game is just a stage play.
is it
Every
really?
single one.
Oh, that would make a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
Stage props can fall.
Oh.
Audience might throw stuff. So try not to get torn
The
up
audience
with
might throw stuff too real. Have you seen that? This stupid trend of people throwing like water bottles at
Oh
musicians.
yeah, someone threw a phone on stage, and
Yeah.
the artist slipped on the phone. Like, please don't be stupid. Like,
So
just-
so people are gonna start doing that in Paper Mario now.
oh jeez.
100 trials. That leaves it
Yeah, it's funny in a game, but
Yeah.
people need to understand what's not acceptable in reality.
100%
Please.
agreed.
You know, we all want to escape to fantasy land, but
every fold. It's impossible.
it's cute.
Unbelievable.
I like everything that I'm watching right now.
Dude, it looks so nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited to play this.
Oh man, I just gotta get through Lufia 2. I'm still
I don't know
stuck
why
on
you
it.
went back to. Why did you go back to
I'm still
Lufia?
I'm still playing Lufia 2. I've never played it before. but
Oh,
I'm-
okay, that's why.
Yeah, I'm gonna get ready to review it.
Good luck, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's just all these like classic games. People come by my stream and they're like, "So, are you ever gonna play Suikoden?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Why not? It's a classic. It's so good." I'm like, "Yeah, but I only have 24 hours in a day. You know, like that's just the reality of having constraint on time."
Baku, you just need to become a full-time Twitch streamer.
Yeah, if
Just-
only I could do that. If
Have you-
everyone would just pitch in,
Have you
you
tried-
and I can just be full time.
Have you tried using a hot tub?
Have I tried using a hot tub? That's
I've
the
heard-
old meta, man. The new meta is pretending that you're in a hot tub, but you're not really in a hot tub. You gotta straddle the line. you know.
Okay.
Apparently, I don't know. I just
Okay.
play RPGs on Twitch. I don't know. Speaking of, Derek and I both stream on Twitch. If in case you guys haven't noticed, check out our Twitch link in the description later on.
Hey, that's almost like we're a
Hey.
professional streamer or something.
Yeah,
Nice.
just gotta give you that segue, man. I
Sick,
learned it from Linus.
6 CTA there, bro. Okay.
Yeah, boy. So what is this? Oh, so I was like, and what is this coming on again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this is
yeah.
coming out on the Nintendo Switch. Ooh, exclusively. And you can find it
Exclusively.
on the 23rd. Yes.
No, I would not be doing hot tub streams, please. Although playing Chrono Trigger in the hot tub, maybe, I don't know. I gotta have some RPG in there, guys. Come on, I gotta stick to my brand.
Bro,
All
I'm
right.
seriously though, if I could afford a hot tub like from my Twitch streams, I would use it every freaking day and I might even stream from it. Just
I want to
saying.
do it in a way that doesn't electrocute myself.
Oh, I mean, oh, that's easy. So here's the thing. Here's the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm not an electrical engineer, so take
Mhm.
this with a grain of salt. But electricity follows the path of least resistance. So like when you like drop like a toaster into a bathtub, for instance, it goes
Mhm.
straight to ground through whatever is, the most conductive path. It doesn't necessarily make all of the water instantly lethal. Just a heads up. Like that's like a old wives' tale. Now a fork in a toaster, that'll probably kill you. But anyways, you won't have to worry about dropping your PS5 controller in and electrocuting yourself because that's not how that works.
It's the reason why I don't own toasters.
This is true. This is
All right.
absolutely true. So, hashtag not life advice.
Hashtag don't do what we just said to do.
So, you know what? We also got a bunch of new games that were announced. Well, not a bunch, but two really that we just wanted to draw and highlight some attention to. And one of those is Sword of the Necromancer
Ooh.
Resurrection.
Ooh.
Yes, Grimorio. I'm sorry, Grimoire of Games, right? Or is it Grimorio?
I think it's Grimorio, but whatever.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyways, they announced that they will be releasing Sword of the Necromancer Resurrection, the 3D retelling of the original Sword of the Necromancer.
Yes.
This game will be released ahead of its sequel, Sword of the Necromancer Resurrection, which is built using the same game engine.
Sorry, that was a typo
Wait,
from me. Derek is just reading it.
yes.
That's a typo for me. It's actually Sword of the Necromancer Revenant is the sequel. So yes,
Revenant.
sorry about that.
Okay, okay.
Yes, I was looking at it like
I'm like, wait a second. I'm
okay,
my
sorry,
own grandpa.
correction. Resurrection is the game that we're talking about right now. Revenant is the sequel that's coming. That's going to use the same engine. Yes, please continue.
All right. Well, anyways, we have a trailer for it. And we're going to check it out right now. Right now.
That was my miss. My bad.
Being able to protect that smile.
I am Ron Burgundy.
And that's the one
This
thing
looks very much like a 3DS game.
that I
It
protect.
does.
Yeah. And that's not a diss. Like some people
It's
like that
land.
kind of style, you know?
I'm not opposed to it. It also looks a little PlayStation 2-y.
This is only an old wives'
Yeah.
tale.
Chibi PlayStation
If
2-y
it isn't, I don't know what I'm going to face from now on.
with like the cell shaded
But
graphics.
I must try.
Oh, yes. Wait a second. So is this no longer a rhythm game?
No, you're thinking about a different game. You're thinking about the
Oh.
the crypt
Crypt of the
Oh, so-
Necrodancer. That's it.
Necrodancer. Yeah, that's a whole
Okay.
different series. Yeah. So Sword of the Necromancer was a 2D RPG
Yeah.
that came out before.
Okay.
And then they announced that they would do a sequel, which is called the Sword of the Necromancer Revenant, right? And it's going to be 3D this time. And they're like, "Ooh, that's really cool." And it was on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And then they're like, "Oh,
I
by the
am-
way, stretch code. If you hit a certain amount, we'll also give you the 3D remake of the original game." And this is what we're really looking at.
That is really cool. Okay. So I'm a lot more interested now.
I've
As I was
nothing
like,
left to lose.
I thought for this whole
You
time,
thought we're talking about the rhythm
Crypt
game?
of the
No.
yeah,
It's
they
not
were
the
talking
rhythm
about
game.
Crypt of the Necrodancer for
Yeah.
whatever reason, which is fine. It's not a bad game, but I was like, rhythm games. I was like, oh, is this one not a rhythm game?
No, it's not that game.
Wow, they
Yeah.
changed a whole genre. Incredible. People are gonna be so upset about it.
Yeah, they're coming at you with the pitchforks right now. I can see the pitchforks in the background.
Oh man,
Ooh,
I kind of dig that
yikes.
that art style. I feel like not every game has to be a AAA masterpiece, and yeah, this looks like it could be pretty cool. And plus, if you prefer the original, it's still there. So go check that out. And then, did you want to? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about what it's coming out on, but I
Mhm.
lost my doc. I don't know where it is. There it is. All right. So this is slated for summer 2024 release on all modern platforms.
That's right.
And it says that completing this game will unlock rewards in its sequel.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. But I'm also very much looking forward to this next game that we're going to be talking about. In fact, I was so excited that I talked about it on Twitter like 3 hours after the Kickstarter started. And that is called Alzara Radiant Echoes, a new French developer studio, Camelia. Is launching their first Kickstarter campaign for their debut title, Alzara Radiant Echoes. And this is taken from their Kickstarter page, because why reinvent the wheel when they wrote a perfect little snippet telling you what it is? Alzara Radiant Echoes is a turn-based RPG that draws inspiration from beloved classics of the genre, including Golden Sun and Final Fantasy X. Set in a fantastical world where the power of the four elements intertwines with themes of camaraderie. Camaraderie?
Camaraderie?
Camaraderie.
It's
Why am I
it's one
adding
of those.
all these vowels in there?
Seriously though, like camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
It's okay.
And unity.
Have you
You
ever?
will embark on an epic journey alongside Kayla and her allies. So Kayla is the main character. Together, they weld elemental magic seamlessly, combining their abilities to unleash awe-inspiring new forces. That sounds fun to me. I love playing JRPGs where you get to just like mix these elements and do these cool like combo attacks and spells.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger. Uh,
And
let's
I
take a
think
look at that trailer, shall we?
all right, yeah. Let's pull this up here. By the way, don't feel bad about that camaraderie thing. Like that.
It's a lot of syllables there.
Well, it's a word that we
Ooh.
like say all the time, but when do you ever read it? And it has like, I don't know.
I rarely ever use that word, honestly. Like, I'd say like maybe like colleague or like, you know, comrades or something.
I know it sounds so, you know, USSR.
Oh yeah. I'm rarely needing big words. Small words would do just fine. This looks so good that I backed it basically instantly, and I didn't question it.
And this one
I'm like,
is
just give it to me.
and like the creatures and stuff are based off of like Greek mythology, so that was like a chimera, I think.
Mhm.
And it sounds like they're trying to borrow from like Final Fantasy X. They're using a lot of like the presentation of combat, like how like the chimera is kind of like dynamically moving along with you during combat. And yeah, some of my friends actually did some interviews with the people who were making this, which is pretty interesting. Backlog Battle, I think, has a really interesting video talking about this. But yeah, you go ahead. You got.
Yes. So the Kickstarter is still ongoing for 25 more days to go. There is no real release time frame as of yet, but the studio did say that they're aiming for sometime in 2026. So fingers crossed that they're able to make that timeline. Because, man, that's That's a very tight deadline there.
I was gonna say how. I mean, like you don't want to have like all of the time in the world on Kickstarter. Otherwise, people think that they have forever to get it kickstarted, right?
Mhm.
Um, let me
Yeah,
see.
2026 is tight, man.
Oh,
2026 is very tight. For a game like what I'm looking at, that's a very ambitious game. Like
well,
2026 is
it
tight.
looks like they've about 1.5x to their goal.
Yeah.
So it's funded, but yeah, they've got a lot of
I
they
mean,
got a
that
lot of goals, I
100,000
think.
would go very quickly.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
the. I don't think that. I think if I read the interview or the article you sent me
Mhm.
correctly, they have other
Oh
methods
yeah, they
of
do.
funding as well.
They do.
So that's
This
cool.
is more about getting early traction and also yeah, that is basically what Kickstarter is for nowadays. Is Kickstarter is not for funding the project. Kickstarter is more being used as a marketing tool, which is fine. You know, it's
Mhm.
fair. It's fair.
A marketing tool slash kind of like way pre-orders, like
Yes,
like
yes.
early pre-order in a way.
Yes, yes. It's to tell you that they're doing a thing, and your you know, people from your fandom is supporting it, so you should too. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of that kind of mentality, and it works. I mean, it's true. They're not lying to you. Like
No.
all these other people are, in fact, putting their money where their mouth is, and they are joining this because they are also you know, excited to see this come to market. So you should too. And that's the whole thing now. And I'm one of those people. So I am saying this as one of the people who also put money in there and say, yes, I would like to see this product come to fruition. Yes, I would like to play this one day, given what you've shown me so far.
Yeah. And so far, I think that this has shown a lot of promise. I'm very
Hmm.
curious to
Yeah,
see how
it's
it'll
one of the
go.
most promising title I've seen in a long time. I think I
You
haven't
think
been
so?
this excited since Arm Fantasia, really.
Armed
On a
Fantasy. Oh,
Kickstarter project, that is.
okay. Because I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, I've been pretty hyped by a few projects. Probably like
What
Sea of
other project was
Stars,
on Kickstarter that was like super like exciting to you?
Aiden Chronicles, Sea of
Isn't
Stars.
Aiden Chronicle before?
Yeah, probably. So I guess
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, since Armed Fantasia, has there been anything
Is Sea of
else?
Star before or after Arm It's been so long that I don't
Sea of
remember. I
Stars was before, I think,
Yeah,
but not by a whole lot. So at this
yeah.
point, it's just a matter of figuring out the timeline. So I think you're probably right. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely like up there with those games.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. And for me, anyways, this and Runa are sort of like the new Eiyuden
Yes.
Chronicles in my book now, in terms of just like waiting for them to cook and waiting for them to release it. I think this is going to be a good one. And I said it as much on Twitter, and I'll say it here. I think this one is one to watch, even if you don't want to commit to Kickstarter. Maybe you've been burnt before, totally understand, but at least just keep this in the back of your mind. Like 2-3 years from now, we're gonna talk about it again, and then I think it's gonna be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep your eyes out on that one, and then uh we'll move on to some industry news. I
Mm-hmm.
think I have a
All
button for
right.
that too. There we
Industry
go.
news. Yes.
Hooray! All right, so
So,
I already kind of talked a little bit about this during JRPG Weekly Update, but I figured Baku, you might want a chance to talk about this too, right?
oh yeah, sure. Why don't you take the next one? I'll take this one.
Okay.
Okay. So, Yusuke Saito is teasing a new project that's maybe near, maybe not near. We don't know. In an interview with Weekly Famitsu, Saito teased, I've been talking about wanting to do something with Yoko-san and Okabe-san for some time now. So Yoko Taro, Yoko-san obviously is the director of the Near series, and Okabe is the musical director. I'll have something more put together to say in the not too distant future. So please stay tuned. It may be near, it may not be near. That's all I could say for now.
Sounds
It
to me
could
like
be
a
near,
whole lot
maybe
of
not
nothing.
near.
Sounds to me like they really don't. Okay, well here, it might be near, it might be far. Oh, who
Oh,
knows?
jeez. That's why I've been trying to like not say it, but you said it. So yeah, it's kind of like they've kind of teased this for a while now. So I don't know if it's like necessarily anything new, but
It's a new
I guess
concert
yeah.
series. Yay!
I guess the question for folks is, do you really want a new Nier game? And before you say yes, as a fan, of course, I want more of their works, and by them, I mean like just these three guys and the very talented team that works with them. Would love to see more creative work from them. But ask yourself this: like knowing Yoko Taro and knowing how he really doesn't want to keep making the same games, you probably won't get what you think you're getting. Like that's his whole like thing for Yoko Taro is I don't want to keep making the same game,
Yep.
which is surprising for me to see that he even made a new Nier game, given that he has already done like Drakengard and whatnot. And
I
then
was
what
gonna
did he
say
do after all the Nier fame? He went and did like a mobile game, and he went and made a voice of
cards.
voice of something. Yeah, voice of cards.
Yep.
Which is totally not a Nier game, which is pretty on brand with Yoko Taro to just like do something completely different. Like that's his thing, right? So do you really want a new Nier game? And if they did make a new Nier game, what would it be? Because there's a lot of things in Nier that made it so good is because it ended.
Yeah.
Like you would have to I don't know what he would do with that same IP anymore.
New
Like
new
it's
dragon.
pretty done.
A new Drakengard.
You know?
A new Drakengard.
Well, that's the thing. Like, like a lot of it is so beautiful because it has such a conclusive end.
Yeah.
Like it's done. It's very much done. There's nothing else for you to like do there. I did say that I went to the Nier concert. They did write additional story for the concert and it's canon. But it's extremely short story. Just spoken through an entire concert. But that's it. That like if you put that in a game, that's like maybe a 15-minute sequence. I mean, they played through like a whole 2-hour concert with lines filled in, but in game format, it would have been 15 minutes. That's it. Like, it's just a little bonus something. Like, you really don't have a lot more you could do to the Nier franchise from someone who played it. And I don't want to like spoil it for people who have not, including Mr. Derek right here. Who has not played the game, who I'm trying to urge him to play the game because there's a reason why people are raving over this title.
Have you tried shaming me on Twitter?
I'm shaming you everywhere I can. I shamed Derek in the pre-show. I shame him now, and I shame him on Twitter. I'm just running out of places to shame Derek into playing Nier. I mean, if you would play Lunar, why can't you play Nier? I don't know. But I'm kidding. But what I'm not kidding though is I really don't think he should make another Nier game. Maybe like a Nier adjacent game. Kind of like how Nier is a Drakengard adjacent game.
Yeah.
It is Nier. For those who don't know, Nier is based off of a joke ending of one of the Drakengard games. Okay, and that joke ending became canon for Nier, and it became like part of the lore. But it was supposed to be a joke ending.
Are there any joke endings in Nier?
Many. One of the ending, I think, to be swallowed a fish and choked and died. That was a joke ending. So unless they want to do,
so maybe
that was seriously one of the joke endings.
Maybe the new game is about the fish before it got swallowed.
It could be, right? So, when they say like could be a Nier game, it could be not a Nier game. Maybe it's like a Nier adjacent game. Maybe they took one of the endings and they just kind of did the same thing, except it's like a completely different new world, new franchise altogether.
It's a Nier fishing game. It's just a Nier fishing game.
game.
There it is. We've cracked the code.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. Listen, I think a lot, and this is gonna, upset a lot of Nier fans. But I honestly, I don't care to see another Nier game because I don't. What I don't want to see is them forcing another game out to appease the fans, and it's just like it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's not good because they're just forcing something out. Like it's not really like a stroke of genius kind of thing. Like they're
Well,
just doing it to appease people.
does Yoko Taro seem like the kind of person to do things that they don't want to do?
He doesn't, and that's why I don't think it's gonna be a near game unless he really has a great idea, and I would love to see what it is. But I
So,
also don't want fans to be upset if it wasn't,
yeah.
because that's just not how Yoko Taro works. And as he has stated and demonstrated in his
Yoko
career.
Taro works in mysterious ways.
That's true. Although I've seen the man without the mask.
And you lived to tell the tale?
And I live to tell the tale. Actually, it's
my
on the
God.
internet. You can just find him without the mask.
I don't think I'm gonna do that.
He's not a bad looking fella. I mean, he just looks like a dude. But no, I think it's just funnier that he wears the mask all the time.
I would just keep the mask. You know, the question is, which one's the real Yoko Taro? The one like is the person without the thing? Is that the mask?
The real Yoko Taro are the friends we made along the way.
The real Yoko Taro is a mask that controls the person. It is a parasite, and it takes over a host.
Parasite.
It's the mask. It takes over the
mask.
person. Yes, it takes over the host, and it controls them and puts evil, wild thoughts in their heads. I think
I've
we've
seen that in a game before.
I think we know. I think I cracked the next Nier game, guys. It's just a mask that you arrive in the mail. Just put it on.
Don't give my ideas. I feel like Yoko Taro would do it. Yeah, but I mean, regardless of what it is, I respect the work of these three gentlemen. So I would love to see what they come up with anyway, even if it isn't a Nier game. So that's kind of like at the end of the day, that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, we'll just have to see what happens, and we'll be sure to let everybody know when we get an update.
Yes.
Moving along, we've got some community news to sprinkle around here for everybody. We got a charity speedrun event, RPG Limit Break, that starts today.
Starts today.
Yes, the annual RPG speedrun event will be held in Salt Lake City, Utah between May 19th, tonight, and the 25th. Donations received during this event will benefit longtime event partners, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and organizers are hoping to raise $110,000 in donations this year, and bringing the event to a milestone of 1 million raised for the National Alliance on Mental Illness since the first event in 2015. From our fans at rpgfan.com. And you can catch all of their live runs via the RPG Limit Break YouTube channel or their Twitch channel. So make sure you check those out.
Man, love supporting RPG related events, love supporting philanthropy. So you guys know how it is. Check it out, man. RPG Limit Break is pretty cool. They've been doing this for, almost a decade now. Like, wow, time flies, man. And yeah, all kinds of ways to watch it, and they're close to $1 million raised for mental illness, so that's really cool of them. In fact, I think there's one more event that just started, and then I think that's it for the night. But then you can always go to their index page, which has like all the events, and it's converted to your local time zone on the right, and then you can see like what's going on, what challenge are they doing, who's doing it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very handy. Unfortunately, we can't link it to you because
YouTube is weird. Yes.
YouTube is silly.
This is a silly
for a long time, viewer, you may remember that we try to link Nintendo's website, and then it got flagged as a fraudulent website by YouTube. It's Nintendo. Like the domain is Nintendo. I'm pretty sure it was like Nintendo.com slash, whatever. So apparently YouTube doesn't want us linking anything. So unfortunately we
Yes.
can't link it. But just know that it's there. Look for the index page for what is it called? RPG Limit Break.
Yeah. All right.
All
I
right.
don't know if anybody could hear the rumbling in the background when I was talking. We
I
got
can't
some.
hear it.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
I do have some thunder and some lightning. Sorry. I was just looking outside and there's a bright flash. Okay. So, if we lose connection, that might be the end of the show, but
Yes.
I haven't
Um,
lost connection yet. I'm still among us.
so are you ready to dive into our little deep dive for today?
I think I am.
All right. So we were thinking about what to chat about today, and there was something that's been on my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And it all
And
it all
and
started with the conversation that we had before, right? Where who was it? Was it Yoshi P who said something about JRPG, and then a bunch of people are just like were just like rallying around it, and we had this
yeah.
whole talk about whether or not to use the term or not, and all
Yeah, that
that
was
fun
Yoshi
stuff. So
P.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was the whole thing. I don't know if you guys remember that, but here we are though. We have this let's talk about Alzara Radiant Echoes for a second, right? It's an indie game from a French development studio, and their first Kickstarter, and they are doing an unabashedly so turn-based JRPG. In their description is not a JRPG inspired something. No,
Hmm.
they're saying they will make a JRPG,
Yeah.
which comes back to make us question what does it mean anymore or anyway. Like, what is a JRPG anyway?
You know,
And I think that this is still very much in line with how I've always viewed JRPG, which is more of a Western reflection of like an RPG done in a certain sensibility,
yeah.
and certain like qualities that's in there, good or bad. The storytelling, the aesthetics, the polish, right? The game structure, perhaps. It's a combination of thing. I don't think anything mix an RPG like a JRPG. Um, Nor is it just simply that it is an RPG made from Japan, because I think most people would have a hard time saying Elden Ring as a JRPG or Dragon Dogma as a JRPG. But if you go by the definition of, well, if the team made it in Japan and they're Japanese, then it is. Well, then yeah, I got news for you. Dragon Dogma is a JRPG, and so is Elden Ring, so is Dark
Yeah.
Souls. So if you're in that group, that's fine. Like, I'm
And
not here to challenge it.
yeah. And I also
Um,
wanted to throw out, this is also one of the things that I like to bring up in this discussion is that uh there are games that are made outside of Japan by Japanese people,
mhm.
such as Final Fantasy 9 was made in Hawaii, and I think those same people would have a very difficult time saying that, oh, because it was made in, in North America, then it is therefore obviously
A
not,
Western
yeah, it's a Western
RPG.
RPG. Like you can't,
Yeah.
it doesn't quite work.
Hmm.
So like
Yeah.
designating like where it was made, it's a useless designation, especially because it was also made in cooperation with other Hawaiian like American developers. So like at a certain point, like you can't just have a genre designation that says like, oh, we have this many people who are Japanese on it, therefore it is a JRPG. Like, I'm sorry, are we gonna start needing to do blood tests to determine
Yeah.
like the pedigree of a video game genre?
51% of our 51% of our workforce who worked on this game are Japanese nationals. Therefore,
Oh shoot, did we include the unpaid interns in this
yes,
calculus?
yes,
Uh-oh.
we do. Yes, we do.
Okay, good, good,
Oh
good.
no. Yeah. So Yeah, but I will stand by my personal definition of it. And if you have your
Mhm.
definition, that's
Yeah.
fine too. That's not. I think that's not really the point of the conversation. But it does
Not right
lead
now, anyway.
into a greater conversation, which is we think that we're starting to see a new era of JRPG, right? Where it used to be that it would be the big companies in Japan, or maybe not even big companies back then. Maybe they weren't like Square Enix wasn't a big company back then, right? Just
Or
companies in Japan.
Squaresoft certainly
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had like what, like 10 staff at one point, which is crazy to think about. But
Yeah.
yeah, they are the ones who pioneer all this, right? They create these games that are RPG, and then it came to the West and it became JRPG because and for no, and this is the reason why I stick to my definition is there's a common elements between them, and it is um these qualities about these games, these sensibility. I like saying sensibility of these games that makes them JRPG. Not so much who they're from or where they're from. Obviously, who they're from, where they're from, made it what it is back
Mhm.
then because there was a direct relationship. Only those people can make these games the way that they are. But that's back in like the 80s and the 90s, right? Time has changed. A lot of people, including the CEO of this new studio, Camelia, and I think even our friends from like something classic, they'll tell you like they grew up playing these games with that
Mhm.
kind of sensibility. Okay, and they've gone on to either really study the craft of how do we create more of these games with this same kind of sensibility, or downright moving over there and working over there to really learn the culture. Nowadays, we can replicate a lot of that stuff without having to necessarily be a Japanese company.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And
And mhm.
it's kind of that whole Batman thing, you merely adopted the darkness. I was born into it, the whole Bane thing. Like, sure, we were born into this playing of RPGs through, and admittedly, a lens of sort that may have distorted some of what we experienced, especially in the beginning with the localization efforts that removed religious symbolism to adhere to Nintendo of America's content guidelines, for instance, or
I remember
having
that.
half of the script absolutely removed because there was no way to fit it all on a Super
Hmm.
Nintendo cartridge in
Yeah.
English,
Hmm.
where we have a much more verbose language, I guess, in at least in the written form, where it takes longer to convey an idea.
More text box, more
Yes,
text blocks.
requires more
Yeah.
bits. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need more compression in our
Hmm.
in our language.
Yeah. But like, yeah, so I think that's kind of where we are now. When we see
Yes,
games like Sea of Stars, when we see games like uh was it what Echo? I didn't get
Chained
to play the
Unchained
game.
Echoes.
I'm sorry.
It was Unchained Echoes was
Chained Echoes, yeah. So like because I
Chained
didn't get
Echoes.
to
Yes,
play
not
it yet.
Unchained.
So
Mm,
yeah, Chained Echoes. Yeah. When we see
okay.
games like Chained Echoes, when we see games like that, a lot of times, and I don't know if chat will agree with me, but a lot of times, what I end up hearing is, how come Square Enix couldn't do this? Or how come Konami wouldn't do this? Look at how well it's selling. How come so and so company in Japan wouldn't do this? How come they couldn't do this? One person made Chain Echo. One
Oh,
person.
also
Well, with help, but
another thing to point out is um God, the Wuxia title, Wandering Sword.
yeah, Wandering
Yeah,
Sword. Yeah.
Wandering Sword. That was another
Hmm.
uh Japanese style RPG made by a Chinese studio.
Chinese studio. That's right. Yeah.
So, and
So,
does
yeah.
so it's like I don't feel like I've heard many people saying that, or like defending the JRPG genre by saying, no, Wandering Sword's not a JRPG, it's a
Mhm.
CRPG or whatever. I don't
Oh,
feel like
I've not heard that at all. I
I've
mean,
never,
to be
yeah,
fair, not that Wandering Swords claim that they're a JRPG, but we certainly see it, right? Like us who played these games, we would easily categorize it in that like feel,
yeah,
I
you
guess.
definitely
Yeah.
like when you play these sorts of games, you can definitely see like these are like these,
Hmm.
like this one definitely goes with the Octopath Traveler and triangle strategy, not just because of the fact that it looks HD 2D, but because of a lot of the gameplay
Yeah.
mechanics,
Hmm.
you know, and its presentation, and several other factors. Whereas like
Hmm.
Dark Souls, Dragon's Dogma, you'd
Yeah.
probably put those with Skyrim or Baldur's Gate 3
Hmm.
because I mean, well, maybe not Dark Souls, but
Yeah.
at least you would put them with the other Western
different
style
different
RPGs.
sensibility, different way
Hmm.
of telling a story, and not saying one is better than the other, by the way, but that they are inherently different, right? The inspirations are
Yeah,
different. Yeah, they're going for a very specific style. Like they know what they're doing. So so we read about it. The CEO of that, for example, and we're talking about this because this came up when we were looking at the Alzara game, where the CEO flat out says that she's a lifelong JRPG fan, and what she wants to do is to make a studio that specializes in JRPG. Again, very unabashedly,
that's pretty
straight to the
interesting.
point. This is JRPG, and
Yeah.
and maybe that's the reason why when Yoshi P's like, well, I never really look at us as making JRPG. Well, of course you don't, because JRPG is very much a Western
Concept.
concept. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very much a how we categorize things, and we've made it useful for ourselves, sort of deal. It is self-serving. It doesn't help them, or at least in the beginning. It certainly helps them now because of the kind of prestige that it comes with, and the kind of
Hmm.
fan base that is built over decades of this existing. So denying this existence is sort of like denying its entire history, right? It's kind of silly at this point.
I
But
mean,
we should just recognize it for what it is.
yeah.
Like it's not a derogatory thing.
It's not
People,
going to be an
yeah,
FRPG.
yeah. It's not going to be an FRPG. But yeah, but they said like, okay, so I want to do this company, and they want to focus on JRPG and do nothing but JRPG, which is pretty cool. And we can talk a little bit more about it later too. Um, but that I think that's kind of the thing, is if we want more of these games, and we recognize the common um, traits that they exhibit. And we agree that these traits is what we want, because other RPG games don't scratch the itch for one reason or another, right? The same person who likes Final Fantasy, or at least the older ones, for what it is, aren't going to suddenly play Baldur's Gate and be like, oh, yeah, no, they're totally comparable. It's
Right?
not in the same category. You can't explain why, but it's not. And it's not because it's turn-based versus non-turn-based. I'll tell you that it's not about the gameplay mechanics by
No.
itself. It's
Because
the
even,
sensibility. It's the entire package is different.
yeah.
Um, or like not because like it doesn't have anime waifus. No, Final Fantasy V doesn't have anime waifus. Well, you can imagine them being anime waifus in your head, but they certainly don't show up as anime waifus. So it's not even that. It's again, it's a whole package. It's a sensibility thing. But people can replicate that now. We don't need Japan. We don't need to beg Japanese companies to please make a turn-based game. Please do this. Like Western
Yeah,
developers and
that's true.
developers in other countries are just doing it themselves. They're basically saying like, look, if you're not going to do it, if Konami's not going to do it, why don't I do it? Why don't I make it? I know what a JRPG is like. I live and breathe this thing,
Hmm.
right? I played it all my life. I know what it is. I can do this. I can make it. And they have made it,
Yeah.
right?
Now, what
Like
would you
Sea of
say
Star
to
is a
somebody who
perfect example.
says,
Yeah.
what would you say to somebody who says that, I've played Western style RPG, or I'm sorry, Western made RPGs that
Mhm.
attempt to capture the Japanese style, and I feel like they fall short. Like, what would you say to somebody like that? I have my own answer in the back of my mind, but I'm
Hmm.
curious. Like, what would you like to say to that person?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them or say that they're wrong. Is if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. Like these things are very subjective,
Super
right?
subjective, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I don't think there are such a thing as like a hard, like, hard line definition. Is
Hmm.
categorization is useful for you if you can find it to be useful for you, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many genres in any kind of media, and they don't
Oh yeah.
fall neatly into things, nor should they.
Yeah. And
So
I
yeah.
feel like you also don't need to sit at the pinnacle of a genre to be a part of that genre.
Mhm.
And I feel like what a lot of people make the mistake of doing when they're thinking about these things is thinking like, oh man, Chrono Trigger was this incredible Japanese RPG. Sea of Stars wasn't as good as Chrono Trigger, or something like that. And they hold it to this really high standard without stepping back to think what has changed since like the 90s, like mid 90s. Technology has certainly been a big difference, and but what hasn't really changed so much back then since then is like the quality of like a good storyteller or a storytelling. And so Squaresoft, when they made Chrono Trigger, they had, really top-notch artists. They had Akira Toriyama at the helm. They had
Mhm.
some really good writers coming together. Uh, like like Yuji Horii from Dragon Quest was working in tandem with Sakaguchi at Squaresoft, like these two
Mhm.
JRPG juggernauts banding together with, like, so they had the only limitation here at this time was the technology, but you
Mhm.
had like some powerhouse hitters in the storytelling department, artistry, music departments. Like, you
Mhm.
had just they call it the dream team for a reason.
Oh
Now
yeah.
to look at a modern game like made by an indie and be like, well, the story's not as good, or the art's not as good, or the music's not as good, or something like that. Like, to look at it from that perspective is kind of like ignoring the fact that technology can do a lot of things. Like, it can
Mhm.
allow you to make a game that looks like Chrono Trigger, better than Chrono Trigger, in a lot of ways, but
Mhm.
it cannot necessarily replicate the abilities of, you know the greatest of all time, the goats of the video game writers that
Yeah.
we've grown up playing.
Mhm.
Like, technology cannot really bridge that gap, and so like hiring super professional, masters of their domain is gonna be not something that like indies can necessarily afford to do,
Mhm.
because
I
these
I
were
I
big corporations. Well, not big
yeah.
corporations, but big companies, leaders of the industry back then.
Mhm. I
And
want to
then,
remind people that Secret Man
yeah.
is a JRPG. Like, just
Oh yeah.
I said this so many times. And East JRPG, yeah,
Yeah.
not turn based. Just please.
Oh yeah.
I'm so we've said this so many times already. Like, it's that's just the fact is they are JRPGs. And they always will be. So,
Yeah.
but there lies um the point of what I was saying earlier, which is that's in accordance to me and maybe some other
Yeah.
people who believes the same thing. But if it's useful to you to define it as such, then that's fine. Like, we don't have to have the same definition,
Oh yeah.
like,
I
personally,
and I think that
right?
games
So
can
I'm not like,
belong to multiple
yeah,
genres too. Like, you don't have to have like only one genre per game. It's,
yeah.
like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is it's a story, it's a drama, it's a comedy, it's also a western.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
So like to try to make every game have one and only one genre is very short-sighted, I think. So they can have a variety. It is an action RPG, it is a Japanese style RPG, it is it is a variety of things. It's an adventure.
I mean, Metaphor is about to have a dual system of action and turn-based. So, you're about to pop a vein thinking if it's going to be JRPG or not. But that's why I don't necessarily believe in strict definition. And
Yeah.
definition can change over time, just
Oh,
like
sure.
anything in a culture.
Yeah.
And maybe we're starting to see a new phase. And that's why I feel like it's worth celebrating. It is not
Absolutely.
a cautious tale. It's like I feel like it's worth celebrating. Companies, people, like our friends from something classic, they're basically saying that we want to be the change. We want to be the change we want to see in this world, right? Or whatever
Heck yeah.
the phrase is, right? And so rather than sitting around and waiting for a company in Japan to make our dreams come true, we're just gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna go and make this thing ourselves. All these other games that have taken inspiration. What was it? What was the one that's taken like heavy inspiration from Terranigma? Which one was that?
Oh, yes.
Oof, ugh, it's not
Uh,
coming to me.
I'll remember it here in a second.
Yeah, I just have bad memories. It's not the game's fault. It's me.
It's not it's not Terranigma though. It's all the Soul Blazer
Well,
series. Yeah. Uh,
yes. What's the game? What's the indie game?
yeah, I'll tell you in a
Yeah,
second. I gotta
yeah.
pull them up here.
Anyway, so you know, they're basically saying, well, we're kind of tired of not having another one of these games, and so we want to make something. And they're also not trying to make like a spiritual successor per se,
Shrine's
but
Legacy. That's the one.
yeah. Which one?
Shrine's Legacy.
There you go. Shines Legacy. Yeah. So and they're not, if you talk to them, they're just like, yeah, like we want to make something. We want to make it with our own twists and stuff. And I think that's where we're starting to see this indie, and that's why like the indie scene is so great. Is because they're kind of answering to our prayers, right? Like where these big companies wouldn't these indies are, and they're continuing to show that. And I think with this new game now, like with this Alzara, when they're creating, and the big difference here is that they are straight up saying we created the studio to make JRPGs, and that's the statement that I'm seeing as like a new step in that direction. We're
Heck yeah.
not creating a studio to make games, and one of them happens to be an RPG inspired by the JRPG classics or something to that effect. No, they are plainly saying we made this company to make JRPGs, but we are mostly French.
hmm
And you are just going to have to accept that, right? And
You know,
I
and that's
love it.
cool. That's
Yeah,
so freaking cool.
it is so freaking cool.
Because this is one of the things that I actually went to video game design school to do. It didn't pan out, but I wanted to make games that I liked playing. I wouldn't want to go make a Baldur's Gate 3, not because I don't enjoy playing it, but that's not the kind of thing that inspires me. And so when I couldn't make those games for various reasons, I made my channel instead and specialized in the kinds of games that I wish I could have made. And that's
Mhm.
kind of what my whole thing is all about. These are my games. These are the things that I love. Um,
Yeah.
and I'd like to think that if I did make games, that they would be JRPGs.
Well, it's never too late. I mean, have you considered moving to France? They might be hiring, man. I don't know. Like,
I mean,
or Derek, you and I should just start a company and we will just make JRPGs. I mean, we know a thing or two about RPGs, right?
I mean,
We could totally do
I
this.
think we established that we're both pretty fluent speakers of French in our last podcast.
It's one or the other, right? I do want to read this little passage from an interview with CEO Emma DeLodge, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her last name there.
Mhm.
But again, she's the CEO of Studio Camelia, and this is an interview that's done with GameIndustry.biz, and you guys can actually let me just send that link in chat so that you guys can read through it because I think it is very interesting. And in fact, I read this first before I even went to the Kickstarter. This was the first thing that popped up for me when I opened my news for the day. And then they're like, oh, we have a Kickstarter. So I read through all this. And one of the things that's got me pretty convinced that they're on the right track is this passage here. It says, I'm trying to find, I had it and then I lost it. Give me 1 second. Like, why did they start this studio? Oh my God, how did I lose it so quickly?
That's all right.
Sorry, I'm gonna look for this real quick. Oh,
That's
there
fine.
it is. Here. So they said this: we really want to specialize and build an expertise in JRPGs. I'm convinced that as a company, the best way to succeed is to be the best at what you do, and specializing in a specific genre. You build this expertise, you build a community, you build people who come back to your project. Falcom. Falcom. Um, and also,
Okay. Mhm.
there is the market approach, being convinced that there are not enough JRPGs on the market, and that the JRPGs are on the market do not answer, but do not really answer to the needs of the players. Being myself a member of the community, I understand what's missing in what we could do. That's the thing that really sparked this whole conversation.
Yes.
Like
That
that's in the mind of like the CEO who started this company and started this whole and I gotta tell you, I've interviewed a lot of indie developers. They have the same sort of thinking. I mean, they didn't, you know, articulate it quite like this in very plainly, but the sentiment is the same.
yeah.
If you talk to these indie developers who like are making these JRPGs, they'll tell you pretty much the same thing. I want to specialize in JRPG. I see that there are not enough, and the ones that are in the market just don't scratch the itch.
For
And
the most
being
part.
in that community, I know what's missing, and I can make it happen.
The only
I
thing I gotta
love it.
say, I have to
Yeah.
interject.
Mhm.
Some of them are really good. Some of them are still
Mhm.
really good. Some of
Yeah.
them do fill the needs, but there are other needs from other people that aren't being met. And I think that
Yeah.
that's also what they're kind of touching on. Like the the dudes who like pretty girls in their games, their needs are being met pretty damn well right now.
I've
But
got a
what
company,
about
couple of
but what
company I
about
can
the dudes
recommend.
who want just a lot of pretty dudes out there? You know, are those needs being met? Not as much.
Not as the
Or
RPGs,
what about the
no, but
girls who want pretty
yeah.
girls? You know,
Well, we
it's
did
different.
talk about a otome game, but also RPG
Yeah.
at some point. But that's like
Oh,
one
you're
game.
right. There was that
Yeah, that
one.
was one.
I
Yeah.
do remember that now, and that was
Yeah.
actually super cool.
Hmm.
Oh god, that, or like they were the various swords incarnate.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's like an MMO kind of thing.
Was it?
Well, not
Oh,
MMO. Sorry, a mobile game.
oh man, was it? I thought it was
Oh no, it started as a
a
mobile
heroes
game and
game.
then it became a dynasty warrior
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, a
game.
Dynasty
Yeah,
Warrior style. Yeah,
there's
that's it.
that. Yes. But as far as like good old RPG, yeah, there's like one.
Yeah. But anyways, so
Yeah.
anyways, when I hear them say like that it's not meeting the needs of some players, it's like you're right.
Hmm.
You know, there are some games that definitely tick off a lot of the boxes for me, but I'm probably like the typical person who plays JRPGs.
Hmm.
Or rather the typical person that they've been aimed at for a while.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm curious to see if this means that they're kind of targeting like broadening the genre out for more people, or maybe there's some other needs that they're talking about that aren't being met and what those are and how they're trying to approach them. it's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of folks have voiced very similar like discontent about the more recent offerings of JRPGs. It's never the music,
Hmm.
it's never the art,
Hmm.
it's mostly not the story, but it's a lot of times it's the gameplay for them.
Yeah.
It's what's so like they just don't like this one thing or that other thing. Um,
Honestly,
yeah.
I've recently been feeling like a lot of the more modern stuff well has a little bit too much of an emphasis on that whole waifu dating thing. You know,
I
um,
feel like that's always been a thing, but
I mean,
um,
I don't know. Grandia, for instance,
mhm,
there was definitely a romance to it, but it
mhm.
wasn't like the kind of romance where like, oh, the player gets to romance, between 15 different women who just keep tripping over themselves to, give you panty shots or whatever. Like
Mhm,
I like the kinds of stories told where you maybe happen to have a romance and maybe it's a really nice sweet one, right?
mhm,
Like between Tidus and Yuna from Final Fantasy X, or
mhm,
something like um gosh, even Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if it was really romantic. It was kind of implied that they were like not, I don't know, they were really young, so like there's probably not like any, you know, but very good friends at least.
mhm. Well,
Um
I have a different observation from you. I think if anything, that has been dying down. Like there was a time where I couldn't get away from like harem. Everything is harem. Anime is harem. Games are harem.
mhm.
Everything is freaking harem, and it's just like around like the Love Hina times. Like if anyone remembered those days, like the maybe like early two
Oh yeah.
thousands.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like if
Tenchi.
anything, that has died down. Like the height of like Sakura Tyson, like that sort of thing. I feel like that has gone mostly out of fashion. Like they still exist for sure, but
Yeah.
I feel like that has died down. If anything, nowadays it's more like three houses where like you can romance anybody, and you get to play as either genre, which is a little bit more fair.
Yeah.
And boy, do some of our friends absolutely love watching all the romancing of the male characters in Three Houses. I know there's one person who dedicated almost an entire year just playing Three Houses, streaming Three Houses, and do every possible romance path
Oh my
on
gosh.
stream, and she loved it.
That's
But
nice.
yeah, if anything, I feel like it's a little bit more fair. But to your point, maybe a little too much emphasis on just like this sort of like romance aspect in general. I don't really need it personally. It doesn't help me, but some people really enjoy it. So I just struck it off as that's just not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but games like I don't know, like a Dragon doesn't really have that kind of like harem-y. I mean, sure,
True.
there's like the Cabaret Club, but like as far as like, the main story is concerned, like if you skip through all those side stuff, like and you just focus on the main story only, there really isn't a whole lot in the way of romance. Like there's
Maybe
not
my
much.
perspective is is
Yeah.
is shifted mainly because lately I've been playing a lot of Trails and Cold Steel, you know,
Okay, I see
and
what you. Yeah,
even
okay,
my
I
Cold
get
Steel
that.
playthrough, even though Cold Steel 4 my playthrough ended a little while ago, that's like one of the most recent RPGs that I've or Western Japanese style RPGs besides maybe Yakuza that I played lately.
Mhm.
And so a lot of my opinions are I've got that recency bias hitting hard here for that. So
Oh, geez, yes, that's the thing. Yeah,
dude,
no,
4 games
I.
straight of just Reen just being surrounded by gals. Like I, I just maybe I'm just assuming that too many games are like this when it's really just too many Trails games are like this right now.
Okay, well, if it makes you feel better, Ado, who is Ado, yeah,
Yeah.
Ado,
Yeah.
doesn't get into any romance with anybody. So
It's cuz he
if it
can't
makes you
talk.
feel any better, from the same studio, there is a game with like absolutely no romance.
True.
Whatever you think is romance in East is not, because Ado leaves like as soon as he's done. He's like, "Yep, gotta go, goodbye," and then like
We all know that the only romance in Ace is between Adol and Dogi.
oh, that's true. There is eight. Okay, you know what? I take it back. Ado and Dogi definitely a pair.
I
Everybody else, all the heroine, yeah, they didn't stand a chance.
I totally ship them. It would probably end up crashing and they'd end up on a deserted island together.
I mean, that's probably the spinoff.
No, I mean that's Ace 8, literally.
That's easy. Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. But anyhow, yeah. So
They went on a little
with
cruise together for some, little away time from everybody. Ended up with more than they bargained for.
thankfully there's still companies like Vanillaware and Falcom that are just not
Oh yeah.
pulled into this whole thing of here's the trend, so go as what the trend dictates kind
Also
of deal.
Persona.
Yeah.
Also Persona.
Like Atlas, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It,
that's what I'm saying. They also do the whole waifu thing.
oh,
The dating
okay.
thing. Yeah. So
Persona, yeah, yeah, yeah.
leans
I mean,
pretty hard into that.
there's P3P, but that's about it. As far as like anything that is out of the ordinary, like Persona is very much that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Persona 5 is especially egregious, if you will. Teachers, sure. Girls who play chess, sure. All the
Hey,
people
it's
in my
shogi.
party, okay, they're all fair
Come on,
games.
man. It's shogi, not chess. Get it
Yeah, the
straight.
shogi girl is fair game. They
God, how
what
dare
is it?
you? What kind of weeb says chess instead of shogi?
Yes, that's true. Shogi, and then what? The reporter lady, and then a bunch of people. Just everybody is game.
I mean,
Um,
hey, she's only your teacher half the time. The other time she's a maid
that's
who
true.
gives you
That's
really good
true.
massages.
Apparently, it's like, wow, I'm energized. I can have another action. I can do stuff again. Yeah, but man, so hopefully through this discussion, you guys can get a feeling of why I've been super excited about uh, this Alzara game. Not only because it just looks like a great game, but I'm just seeing a shift in the way that people are thinking about JRPGs. Like we're
Yeah,
not sitting there waiting
especially
for Gematsu to tell us like, oh, here's one that might fit your taste. There
especially
are
the way
people,
Western developers are thinking about JRPGs.
yeah, there are
Um,
people who are very much like your peers in this community who are like, you know what? I've been in this community long enough. I know what would make a great game. If only I had the means to do it, I would do it. And we've heard that for years, and now they finally have the means to do it, and they
yeah,
are doing it. And Sea
and
of Stars and all those games are
indies are
just like
killing it.
examples. Uh,
They legitimately are just killing it these days. I've
mhm.
the for the first like 6-7 years of this channel, I didn't really play any indies. And I was missing out a lot. And I'm glad that I started. I'm glad that I started when I did,
Mhm.
because I think it's just even since I've started playing more of them, it's just exploded even further. And
Mhm.
we have so many good choices and so many that I haven't even gotten to yet. I've heard incredible things about games like Crosscode,
Mhm.
that I still need to play. Um, God, just so many on my Steam wish list.
Yeah, crosscut. What didn't we talk about? Like, that was a pretty cool one that I didn't play yet. At least like Jack moved. I didn't get to play it yet,
Oh
but
yeah,
it
Jack Move.
was pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of these, and it's only gonna be more in the future. I think the bottom line is this: for anyone who is here, chances are you are a fan of RPGs. Chances are you like some JRPGs. And we're here to tell you that your peers in this community, they're gonna probably answer to whatever it is that you feel like is missing a lot better than folks overseas. And I guess maybe to go back to your previous question, Derek, like if someone comes up to me and say it's not really quite hitting, something is missing,
Mhm.
I'd probably just ask them like, have you considered sitting down and thinking what's missing? And not just like this like ethereal thing where like I just feel like it's like, no, pinpoint it down, write it down.
Mhm.
Like see what is actually missing. It could be a positive feedback, maybe something, it could just be like a subjective thing where like, yeah, you just didn't feel like you like the art style.
Yeah.
And look, there are actual bona fide RPGs made in Japan JRPG that I didn't like the art style, like SMT. No offense, I didn't like the art style, or like I don't know,
Oh
Vagrant
man,
Story. God, I
dude,
hated the art style
lately,
in Vagrant Story.
so one of my friends, Lady Pelvic, recently has been reviewing Trails in the Sky games, and she's
Mhm.
been talking about how much she doesn't like the art style. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like it looks so good, but whatever.
uh,
I mean, that's what I'm pointing at though. It's just it's
mhm.
so incredibly subjective.
Yes,
Um,
it is. It
so
absolutely
like
is.
I thought the art of the Trail series is fantastic, but
Yeah.
to each their own.
This is why I will always have like maybe like a debate with people about like what is or isn't a JRPG, what is like what are the elements, and so I'll debate people, but I would never tell them they're wrong. I would
No.
never be like, well, you're wrong for feeling that
Yeah, I
because
mean
it's
saying
a
you're
thing.
wrong is the
Yeah,
end of a discussion.
yeah,
It doesn't.
that's silly.
Yeah, you want to move you want to move that discussion forward and be like, okay, well, if we want to define an RPG, let's just have a back and forth. But just shutting
Mhm.
down and saying nope,
Yeah.
that's the sign of, well, somebody who's not interested in actually
And
finding
at
the
the end of
truth.
the day, we may not still see eye to eye on it. And
Oh,
and I'm here
certainly
to
not.
tell you that it's okay. It's okay that we don't necessarily agree. Because guess what? The reason why I categorize things is not the same reason you categorize things. And that's okay. We don't have the same brain. We don't, you know, perceive the world the same way.
Well,
It's
Baku,
it's yeah.
that
It's just
is only true so long as we haven't received our masks from Yoko Taro yet.
it's true.
Once we've all donned the mask, and once we've all become Yoko Taro, maybe then our perspectives will shift somewhat. Mm.
Is that the point of what did they call that? Singularity? Is that singularity
Oh,
when
sure.
everyone just becomes Yokotaro?
Yes, exactly.
I can't wait to see that. I would like more Near games. I'm a huge fan. Speaking of Derek, no, Near is a great game, and I think you should play it.
Interesting. I'll consider that. Now, I wanted to go ahead and move us along a little bit for
Mhm.
two reasons. One is that we're
Yes.
having an absolute downpour outside, so I may lose connection at some point. So we'll go ahead and move this discussion along a little bit
Yes.
into super chats. Before we do, though,
Mhm.
everybody, question of the week. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll do a
Mhm.
question of the week, and that is, what is your favorite Western-made Japanese style RPG?
Yeah.
Just give them a shout out down below, because I need some suggestions. The comments section won't open up until the end of the stream,
Mhm.
but we'll be checking those out after the fact. Okay, now onward to yes, responding to super chats, and we got a couple here. So here's one from Still Alive who says, silent protagonists in RPGs, for or against? Examples: Chrono from Chrono Trigger versus, say, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Mhm. Is
What's your
Klaus
take?
a silent protagonist?
Um, I think he does say a couple things, like,
Hmm.
or maybe he's talking about Seven Rebirth, because I mean that definitely had more Cloud talking.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, he was a quiet protagonist. But I don't think he was a silent protagonist, right?
Yeah, he's so stoic, but I don't think he's silent.
Yeah,
No,
they're saying Chrono
CT
Trigger
is silent. Yeah.
versus,
Oh, versus.
yeah, like on opposite sides of the
Uh huh.
spectrum here. Um, so I kind of
Would
like
you like to
my.
go first?
I
Okay.
was gonna go first since
Yeah,
I was
just.
gonna stall for you here. I prefer my protagonists to be talkative and very annoying whenever possible. like like Vaughn from Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, jeez.
Not actually the case.
Mm-mm.
No, but I do like him to be talkative, and I like him to have a lot of personality, like Justin, for instance, from Grandia, who we were talking about a little bit ago. Yeah, I feel like a protagonist who talks has the ability to establish good bonds with his teammates,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the aspects of RPGs that I really like is seeing the interpersonal connections forming and strengthening over time, you know, and when your character just says all the time, it's kind of hard to see those bonds be forged, you know.
Persona fans would disagree. Have you not seen our confidant ranking?
So
Clearly, we are forming
is
bonds here.
is that a silent protagonist though? Because you do pick what the protagonist says, and he does say things, as opposed to like Chrono. It's just like nods or shakes head. It's
he
like
he is he is
he's full mute. You know.
that is true. I mean,
I
Persona
still don't.
5, there's the actual voice actor for him, because he grunts in battle. It's
Uh
true.
huh. And yep. Just
Mm.
not gonna make a joke that I could have.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Good point.
Uh, I think silent protagonist is it's kind of in the same vein as
The self-insert character.
no no, it's like it's a literary device to me, in the same vein as open-ended endings. If
Interesting. Okay.
done right and meaningful, it could be very powerful, but it could also just be a tool to just be very lazy about it. So it's really about how you implement it. I could simply just have a silent protagonist just because I don't feel like writing a meaningful character and I just want you to just self-insert and just have fun.
Yeah.
Uh, or I could just have like an open-ended ending and just be like, "What do you think the ending's about? Why don't you think about it? You tell me.
I see
How
what
do
you're
you
saying.
feel?" Right? Like,
So
yeah,
it's a double.
but
They're
you could
both
just be
double-edged
lazy.
swords that could
Yeah,
be done well, or they could be done poorly.
haphazardly
What
and just like it just is.
What would you say is a example of it done well?
It's Chrono Trigger. I like Chrono Trigger. Silent
Yeah, I mean,
protagonist.
I love Chrono Trigger too, but do you love Chrono Trigger because Chrono is silent,
Hmm.
or is is it a good example just because you also happen to love it? Like
No,
that's
I think it's a good example because it allows the other characters to shine rather than focusing. I mean, I think that's that's part of the point of having a silent protagonist is that you are not the most important person in the room. Other people are. It's kind of like this. You know, one of the rules that they tell you about having a conversation with someone is just to speak less and ask more questions and listen more.
oh yeah, I
That's
hear
the
that
silent
all the time.
protagonist.
That's why I keep talking all the time. Just kidding.
I know, and that is why you're the most interesting person and not me. You see how that works?
No, I'm just
Um,
joking, man.
yeah, no, but it's true. They say if you want to appear more intelligent in a conversation, speak less, ask more questions, listen more.
And
And
that's
I
why I
feel
talk
like,
all the
yeah,
time.
just exactly. Uh, but that's what the silent protagonist is effectively doing if
Hmm.
done well.
Yeah.
You're effectively creating that thing where
You're creating
everyone.
room for other people to talk.
Right. But when you have a Titus, you know, or Reen, you know, they are the center of attention. You know, they
Titus,
are so not silent.
I
Um,
think Titus was also a strategic choice though, because
mhm,
it is an isekai where
mhm,
he is new to the world and, you know, wants to be able to interact with that world from a newcomer's perspective.
mhm.
If he wasn't able to speak out loud, he wouldn't be able to express his bewilderment at the world that he's experiencing and uh, learning about for the first time. So, I mean, say what you will about the quality of the voice acting. That's a battle for a different day, but I think he did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But like, as far as Titus as the character goes, I think that the fact that he was a vocal character was a good thing, all
Oh
in
no,
all.
I agree. I was just saying that like it's a completely different choice. Like you're
Yeah.
for Titus or for like Reen, like it is a very deliberate reason why they are not silent. But again, so the opposite holds true for someone like Chrono. It is also a deliberate choice that they are silent because reasons that I just mentioned. But if you did it where the person should really be talking or they shouldn't be talking, but you did the opposite, then that's when it kind of shows that maybe you don't know what you're doing, kind of deal. Like,
Hmm.
so that's kind of how I look at it. Like, was their intention and did it make sense, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, so that's one fight picking out the way. They're still alive. Thank you very much for the super chat. Uh, Next, they wanted us to say, let's see, how did you feel about Western style RPGs made by Japanese developers, like the Etrian Odyssey games? I personally like different RPG styles. So
Mhm.
that's an interesting one because Etrian Odyssey is a DRPG, a first-person dungeon crawling RPG,
Mhm.
um, which lately feels like it's been kind of thunder. Oh,
Oh, I heard
uh,
that one.
wait,
Oh, I heard that one. I thought you bumped into something.
no, no, that was thunder.
Oh, that I
So
heard that one.
yeah, it got loud enough that my voice noise suppression couldn't block it out. But anyways, what I was saying is that it's interesting because most of those DRPGs now are being made by Japanese developers, which is kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's another shift where they don't care about whether or not they're making a Western style RPG. They just want to make a game of this particular kind, and
Mm-hmm.
who cares if it's typically associated with the East or West, which is
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And I applaud them for that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
think I think Yoshi P nailed it in the head. They never cared. This was never their thing. They never cared. All they are doing is just make RPGs.
yeah.
The only one time that I would say is the sole exception is probably Dragon Dogma. That was the sole exception. They're
Mm,
like, you guys been
yeah.
talking a lot of
They
smack.
have to.
We're gonna have to show you how we do it. Um, that I think that was with like full intention of completely replicating a Western RPG and make it really good. Just to be like, you said we couldn't do it, but we did. But other than that, I feel like they've always just been like, I want to make the best game, and
Now,
so here we are.
Now,
They never cared.
I'd have to be some kind of Western RPG aficionado to say whether I felt like, gatekeeping, Dragon's Dogma from being a Western style RPG or not. And be like, something doesn't quite seem right. Uh,
Hmm. It's some.
I
It's,
don't see any dice rolls. I feel like that. This is
where's the
clearly not.
initiation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel like if you showed someone Dragon Dogma and you didn't tell them that was from Capcom or that Capcom is a Japanese company for that matter, you just
sure.
seriously just sit down, just play this game, right? They they'd be
They
none
would
the
probably put it
wiser.
in the same box as Skyrim
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, 100%. Thing is, I don't see too terribly many Western style RPGs coming out these days.
I mean, other than the ones that we really talked about, you're right. They typically
I mean,
aren't
here we're
in
talking
that
about
style.
new Japanese games coming out like every week, but like a
Hmm.
new Western RPG, like it's a little less frequent. I mean,
Yeah.
Starfield came out,
I
Cyberpunk
think it's because
2077.
Japan is just more homogenous as a culture, whereas we are more diverse. So it's easier for us to like emulate something that isn't inherently ours, I guess, if that makes sense.
Hmm,
Whereas Japan, it would have to be a very deliberate choice.
I
They
can
would
see
have
that.
to discard their sensibility and do something completely different that they're not used to doing.
Interesting.
It's very different.
Yeah. Well, anyways, as far as how I feel about it, yeah, go for it. The more the merrier. I just wish they'd make more Breath of Fire games. You know, that's all I
Are
gotta
you
say.
pandering to the base real quick? Is that what?
I'm pandering to me. The base came to
Pandering.
me because I love Breath of Fire. Okay,
Okay, that's fair. I mean, did you see Terra Memoria though?
dude, did you play that yet?
I did.
I heard you were gonna stream it.
I
I
did.
saw the trailer for it. I haven't played it yet, but how is it?
It was delicious. It was so good. It was
Really?
so good. I was debating if I wanted to put Aiden Chronicles on hold just to play Terra Memoria because it's a shorter game too.
Yeah.
But no, ultimately I decided to just go and play Aiden Chronicles. But I
Is
will be playing Terra Memoria. It was good.
now the real question though,
Mhm.
was it made by a Japanese person?
How many percentage do we need to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
some DNA
I need to
testing?
know the
Is that-
ratio of Japanese to Gaijin here.
Oh no. It's a beautiful game. Another French company, by the way. They're really upping the ante there.
Oh man.
Yeah, anyone who has not seen Terra Memoria, check it out, man. The game is superb. The battle system is simple but effective, and it's a little different, but I appreciate it. There's a button where you can hold where you can speed up the battle. Love it. Uh,
Oh nice.
God, I don't want to sit and watch all the animation. I just want to skip through some of them. And the storytelling is very interesting. I appreciate the more old school style of telling story where you're kind of starting from a character and then you just kind of go through and they just have all kinds of reasons to join in the party and then they go on this grand adventure and they learn about each other and they compliment each other. It's nice. It's that camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
Ah.
All right.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend the game for the short time that I played anyways.
Awesome.
I highly
That's
recommend it.
that's really
Yeah.
exciting. I need to move that up on the list, but that's a really big list. Anyways, with that terrible bombshell, I'm afraid we're going to end today's show. Thank you
Oh,
all so
no.
much for watching. I hope you had a good one tonight, and we'll see you in the next one. By the way, if you're enjoying this on any other podcasting platforms, Apple, what other ones exist? Spotify. If you enjoy us on Apple or Spotify, uh, give us a review, drop us a like, or get subscribed or something, to show your appreciation because it really helps us out a bunch. So just wanted to say that. Love y'all. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great night, everybody.